Hey, Drew, do you think anyone noticed that we left?
There was allegations against me, and then they went nowhere. So there were allegations against me again. To this day, have not been investigated criminally about any of this because it's just so there's no proof, there's no nothing. There's literally I could do right now on this phone what you guys saw, and then go he did this, right? So
Yeah, this is a rabbit hole. I don't know how deep it's going to go, but we have some more documentation evidence against the Antihero podcast, including the host Tyler, which, if you guys forget, was with Brent Tucker, which he recently posted this about him going live and starting a new podcast called Tier 1.
Hey, Drew, do you think anyone noticed that we left?
And a Vet Bro podcast that's fallen apart, which includes Brent Tucker.
If you check out the Antihero podcast, he's no longer on that platform.
He said, did you and Brent break up, Tyler? I noticed all of his stuff is out of the studio.
Possible, but he's starting another podcast from scratch, though, right? So what does that tell you?
Because there's a podcast out there, I don't know if you know, it just disbanded.
This is actually sad what Antihero has become. Brent must be big mad to leave.
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
So yeah, you can see that he says he's going to explain everything, but there is a lot of stuff in these documents that made people wonder why they were splitting up. If you forget, we're covering this because there were ethical concerns or moral concerns that happened as they were covering issues with Tim Kennedy and other military influencer veterans, whatever, and essentially we're bashing them. But now it looks like the rocks are being thrown against Antihero podcasts, and people are wondering if Brent Tucker knew about a lot of these issues before he left, and if this is why he left. This is a official document from the Florida Police Department over at Orange County, where they conducted what is a professional standards section investigation against Tyler. And I will tell you that the foundings are not there, but I understand there's what can be legally proven, and then there's like public opinion of what can be proven or what people believe. And I feel like this is a public interest in order to understand what has happened with Tim Kennedy's situation, the fallout of this, and also the ethical and moral conduct of police officers in general. Now, to give you some highlights, this includes escorts, this includes golden showers, this includes Venmo payments, which are linked back to some of those that could be alleged. It includes a lot of documentation here with ex-wives, which are really crazy, but I want to cover it because this is what we do on the channel. Now, the first part of this is you have to understand how was this all tipped off. This was all from a previous partner, which they are alleging had sent some evidence to the police department via mail. And essentially, there were 9 pieces of documents that were along with this, along with a 2-page letter, essentially saying all the wrong stuff Tyler had done. Now, I am going to read some text messages that were noted in that letter because they are alleging that essentially these text messages were sent from this phone number, which, by the way, was Tyler's old phone that he had given to his ex-wife, and she had found these text messages, allegedly is what she's saying, and that they went to this number. Now, it appears the phone number, which I'm not going to list here, was hooked to a Cinch Voice or a Text Now number, which the database is associated with somebody by the name of Jasmine Hall. And this led back to somebody that did servicing for people, where the investigator of this situation said these photos of this person are from some kind of escort, essentially. And she was recognized through a database because they took that picture, referenced it to a David system, which is like a driver system where they could then match. And they said, yes, this is the same person because she has a neck tattoo. What we saw in the driving or driver's license thing had a tattoo as well. This is a positive match of who this number was texting. They are alleging that Mr. Hoover asked Miss Hall to meet at 1 p.m. and Miss Hall provided the address to meet at this location. Mr. Hoover told her to drink water, and Miss Hall asked Mr. Hoover to bring something to lay on the floor for the golden shower, like a garbage bag and sheet. Mr. Hoover said he would. She explained he would also need a towel and washcloth to shower after the golden shower. Mr. Hoover responded, got it. And Ms. Hall indicated she was running a little bit behind and needed to shower. She rescheduled to meet Mr. Hoover at 1:30 p.m. Mr. Hoover indicated he was coming from a long way because he had a long trip back. He said he did not really have a lot of time to sit around. Ms. Hall agreed to meet at 1 p.m. again, and Mr. Hoover advised he ended up in Edgewater and figured Ms. Hall was instead in Daytona. Mr. Hoover said Ms. Hall for the room number. She responded 221, and Mr. Hoover indicated he was 5 minutes away. So that was the first interaction of this. Now it appears there is another person of interest during this, which they said is Miss Kiara Johnson. And they were actually able to link this to that number as well and possibly identified her to a T-Mobile number, which they said was linked to this. And they said the description was noted when they searched back that it was a female escort in Daytona Beach, Florida, and the link directed to a prostitution advertisement. One advertisement depicted 5 photos of a transgender woman who offered sexual activity for hire. Several photos exposed their P word and B word. The second advertisement depicted similar photos and information. And again, this investigator took those photos from that website with this other database, and they're like, yes, these are positive. They match this phone number. Yes, this is the person we're talking about. Now, because of all these engagements, they had essentially said that they were going to look further. They did subpoena both his Venmo and other payment methods essentially during this to kind of show a context here, which they also investigate one of these or two of these people to talk more about it. But they do have proof that some kind of payment went to these people. My favorite part about this investigator, he says this as like an expert. He goes, based on my training and experience, a massage is synonymous with engagement for prostitution or lewdness. To be fair, this did happen during off-duty hours. They show that Tyler was not on shift during that time, so this is not like he was abusing work hours or whatever else to think there were ethical concerns with that, because remember, this document is related specifically to that. Now, if you have not seen, the ex-spouse during this did cover this situation, and she was like, I was being hurt and abused and all this other stuff for years, never reported it. She was a police officer as well. We have some very specific instances, which she does say she ran into these two people with Tyler while he was doing something, allegedly, during this entire thing. She says that they woke up around 6 a.m. and noticed that Mr. Hoover was gone. She presumed he left to buy alcohol. About an hour later, this person walked out of the driveway and noticed down the street was Mr. Hoover's truck. Recognized the truck was running because she could hear it. She subsequently approached his truck and saw another white sedan parked behind it. Initially thought Mr. Hoover was involved in a traffic crash, but as she walked closer to the truck, she did not see Mr. Hoover in the front seat, and then she saw his head pop up from the back seat, and then another head popped up from the back seat. And says Mr. Hoover exited the truck and told this person, just relax, calm down, it's not what you think. Dismiss him and approach the truck to see who the other person was. They locked the door, but could tell it was a thinner black female because of the hair. Then observed the person getting dressed as blank, talked to Mr. Hoover. This person got out of the back seat and then sprinted to their car. Then recognized this person was not a woman and could just tell it was just a man. This person subsequently got in their car and took off. Because of what she witnessed, she told Mr. Hoover, we're over, you're done, this is ridiculous. They both then went back inside the residence, and she watched Mr. Hoover go into a spare bedroom. She collected herself and tried to keep an even keel because Mr. Hoover's 6-year-old son was in the living room watching TV. She then said she decided to move Mr. Hoover's truck out of the road and into the driveway. When she got in the truck, she noticed there was a used condom in the back seat. She said that there was a condom that had been worn, but there was nothing in it. Now enraged, grabbed the condom and went back inside the house. She opened the spare bedroom door where Tyler Hoover was and threw the condom at him. Yelled at Mr. Hoover that he was a liar in the moment. Saw Mr. Hoover was laid out on the bed with a gun in his mouth. Reenacted with her now how Mr. Hoover placed the gun in his mouth, pointing upwards. Mr. Hoover then exited the bedroom, walked him to the front porch and said he was being violent and he wasn't really saying anything. Mr. Hoover was just kind of like upset. Now, after all this, the ex decides at this point to then say, I'm going to look through your phone. I'm going to find out what's going on. I want to look through this and I want to find out. Now, because of that, there were some things that were linked together, which is how we got the phone numbers in this and all of that, which will provide more context and identifies the person that was in the truck according to this witness. She says she found that website that Mr. Hoover had pulled up on his phone. The webpage on Mr. Hoover's cell phone depicted a person had a P word and it was on a female prostitute site. The person on the webpage was that same person in Mr. Hoover's truck that morning, later identified as this person. Now, during this ex is alleging that Tyler essentially went on a 3-day depression, kind of ignored everything. They tried to bring it up, said that they would help him out through this, and said that's not him, and essentially was just kind of dismissive of everything that was going on here. And according to the ex, there was alleged trying to make this work essentially with couples counseling, but Tyler did not want that to happen. And essentially it was just off the table in regards to talking about it or trying to work through this process. Now, according to this report, the ex says that they got a hold of this phone through Tyler because they had broken their phone or something was wrong with their phone. Tyler then said, hey, I have this for my podcast. I'll let you use it, but never actually cleaned it, was still signed into the iCloud account where this ex was now able to actually go through and look at all these old messages and things like that, which is how this all kind of came up and kind of piecing everything together for her. Now, I did say that there's not anything specifically showing that Tyler owned this phone. However, from what this document is saying is that there was a photo allegedly on January 13th, 2023 around 6 p.m. where Tyler had actually sent his badge and old military ID to confirm who he was to certain numbers that were on here. So I would say it's pretty fair to say, you know, you can make whatever correlations you want about this, but that's just what they found during this investigation. Now, it does appear that they did actually investigate this further with the people Tyler was having these alleged Venmo transactions, massages with. Now, it appears that X during this conversation and reporting all of this for investigation essentially was like, I went and did my own research and even talked to two people that were involved in the situation where this is her interaction that she had said. On June 29, 2023, it says that they confided in this person. It said she thought Mr. Hoover had a sex issue. She elaborated that Mr. Hoover was uncomfortable with who he was sexually, and instead of embracing it and working through it and trying new things, he repressed it, and that his behavior was weird and harmful. And the ex said, like effing a female prostitute when you're married? Yikes. And this person she had the conversation with says that Tyler could not even say this was not her via these Venmo messages because the person that it was going to was the name of her grandmother, which I'm like, why are you doing this job and having payments go to your grandmother, if anything? Wouldn't you be a little suspicious? Like, hey, grandma, I got another $50. What for? Carry some groceries in. I'm just like, whoa, people are just anybody's fair game with this. Now, it appears that Tyler may have been a little aware of what was going on and may have a little inkling of this. And that was because the ex during this had requested to friend him on Venmo, which then he was like, what's going on? Calls like, what's happening here? And essentially then blocks his ex for this. And it does appear that the subpoenaed records from Venmo do show the same thing, that it was open but closed, but that was pretty much it. Now, this is where the Brent Tucker situation is kind of interesting because it's around the time that Brent is leaving, right? Like, it's kind of where this is drawing up, or you're seeing some of this happen, because this is alleging that on May 13th, 2025, that somebody anonymously had made this report, and it was apparently his ex's friend, okay? Again, anonymous. But apparently, according to this, her father was like, hey, we don't know who did it, but you need to be a part of this. And she's like, well, Tyler has a lot of people that are not his friend that are working on the Orange County Police Department, and that they don't like him and would be willing to rat him out. Now, with all of this, it comes up that his ex is saying that Brent Tucker, his co-host, would be an idiot to continue working with Tyler if all of these things are being brought up. Tyler may, according to this document, may have been aware that these allegations were coming up, the anonymous reports, according to this. And they are speculating that he is leaving the law enforcement department within 60 days and that this was maybe tipped off, essentially. But that's their story for it. Now, to get some hard evidence, according to this document, they are saying that the information from the web browser matches her story of the 6 o'clock situation, because it says on July 6, 2023 at around 7:40 a.m., browse an escort listing website specifically for escorts in Daytona, Florida. She also performed a telephone number search. And then again, later on in that morning, it says the access a people search engine and public records database. So looks like that story's matching up there. Now, to discuss the whole entirety of this is what happened from this investigation. What did the Orange County Police Department show from their findings of everything that was alleged here? They say this investigation was conducted to determine if Tyler Hoover violated Florida law, specifically soliciting for prostitution, lewdness, or assignation in violation of this. And based on the totality of evidence and circumstances in this case, probable cause was not established that Mr. Hoover violated this or any other criminal law within Orange County. The alleged and suspected criminal activity occurred outside of Orange County. Furthermore, this case was not referred to another law enforcement agency because a prosecution for a misdemeanor of the second degree or a non-criminal violation must be commenced within 1 year after it is committed. Therefore, the time limitation for prosecution has expired. This investigation is closed. So because of all of this, we get down to the nitty-gritty. It appears that the Antihero podcast has refuted a lot of these claims, and these are some of the things they've had to say about what this document says.
Violence allegations didn't stick. So are we going to talk about who it is tonight?
Yeah.
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 So the ex-wife decided to go another route and claim other things that I've done. That the people have been like, she's working with people. We'll get into it on Saturday. There was allegations against me, and then they went nowhere. Yeah. So there were allegations against me again that people have been chomping at the bits waiting to post. And unfortunately, they're all allegations. And you can accuse a ham sandwich.
You can indict a ham sandwich.
You can indict a ham sandwich, and it doesn't really matter.
Elephant in the room is nobody is talking about that. It's Kendra, his ex-wife, waited 2 years after divorce. Okay, 2 years after they got divorced, and then proceeded. There's no contact. They have not talked in this whole entire time. There's no text messages, no phone calls, no nothing.
2 years.
She waits 2 years. She could have taken him to the fucking cleaners on this divorce when they got divorced in 2023.
End of 20, I think it was like January 2nd.
The finalization was January 2nd, 2024. It was filed in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So why in God's green earth would you wait 2 years?
And here's my take.
Well, no, that the new batch of allegations came out recently, but the first batch, they realized that 7 years earlier was strategically it was done, and they know what they did, and we'll get into it on Saturday. But the first allegations were 7 years ago
of domestic violence.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
all Kendras are crazy. Sorry,
so,
bro.
But here, and from an investigator standpoint, and from all men out there, I want you to believe that if you read this document, that a woman went through her husband's phone and found what you guys saw, and didn't confront said husband, didn't bring it up in a divorce, didn't bring it up for any money, didn't blackmail his career that he was already starting, Antihero sooner. She just
will answer that.
She just let it slide. I want everybody right now to give their wife their phone and let her find something of that nature in your phone. I will give you $10 million if your wife can wait 2 years to address the allegations that she brought forward. So to me, it's crazy to me to think that a woman waited 2 years to bring that out, and that she didn't say anything to you about it.
I thought the DV allegations were hilarious, but hilarious in the sense that how old they were. There was no specifics. There was no witnesses. There was no. I to this day have not been investigated criminally about any of this because it's just so. There's no proof. There's no nothing. There's literally. I could do right now on this phone what you guys saw and then go, he did this, right? So there's just, so I've always thought it was hilarious, but it just got so out of control.
Yes, in legal sense, not able to charge him officially because this is from 2023. A crazy ex-spouse situation, bad, right? Also the layer of, okay, it's bad if you're talking about allegations against Tim Kennedy, various other issues such as Rob O'Neill and various others, and kind of having your own glass house, which, by the way, Brent has still not discussed this, which I hope he addresses this video a little bit because it would give context, but then kind of looking at the court of public opinion because I'm left with all these allegations, and I've talked to Tyler. Looks like this is one side of the story. I keep saying that because I'm not going to bite my own tongue or, get caught doing something I'm not supposed to because I'm going to share that side of the story when that comes out as well. Apparently there's other stuff that might be happening behind the scenes during all of this. So Just giving that out there. This is a continuation piece. Stay tuned for more. And apparently, the police department over in Orange County is sitting here trying to figure out who's leaking what information. This has been posted on Facebook. That's where I found it. So, yeah, check it out for yourself if you'd like to.